And we're live. Good morning, Ty Firsching. I am Dan Kopp coming to you live from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, and we're here to talk to you today about how great leaders maintain accountability with clients and customers. As always, joining me today is Ty Firsching. And good morning, Ty.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ty Firsching. I'm coming to you live from Entebbe, Uganda, Africa. I'm saying the Africa because I said Entebbe the other day, and somebody I've been talking to for a while says, "Oh, you're in Africa?" They didn't know where Entebbe was until I mentioned Africa after that. So, in case you don't know, it's Africa. Anyway, I'm excited for this topic today, and Dan's going to take it away. So, Dan, knock yourself out.
Well, before we jump into it, I want to remind people that if you'd like to work with Ty or me, or the both of us, feel free to reach out to us. Our emails are at the bottom of the screen, dan@leadingbuffalo.com, ty@tradesecrets.com. You can also check out our content on our YouTube channel, the Enhanced Leadership Project, and always you can DM us directly on LinkedIn, and we'd love to hear from you. If you're watching live or if you've got questions in the replay, feel free to ask questions. We will do our best to answer them. And if you are watching live and have a question and we see the question come in while we're talking, we will definitely answer it to the best of our ability while live on air. So without further ado, today's topic, how great leaders maintain accountability with clients and customers. And as always, I like to look within to when I'm talking about accountability, because when I hold myself accountable to myself, to the organization, and to my people, it just builds the accountability and builds the culture of accountability with all of those people. So first of all, as a business owner, solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever, we've got customers or clients to whom we are responsible. So even if you've got product coming in from vendors that you use to create your product that you then ship out, you've got vendors, you've got to be accountable to them. You've got to put your orders in at a time, so you're not calling them on a Friday and say, "Hey, I really need this by Monday." I'm like, dude, why didn't you place the order last Tuesday then? Why is it my problem? You don't want to put your vendors in that position. You want to pay your bills promptly. You want to, first of all, I guess you want to invoice them promptly. You want to pay your bills properly. You do those things to show them that you are responsible. Then on the other end of things, you've got your customers or your clients. You've got to be there for them. You've got to invoice them. You've got to ensure they pay you on time. You've got to be there for them to answer questions. Some people have a system where it's, hey, you bought this thing or this tool or this resource, and there's no initial support or additional support necessary. Great, knock yourself out. You don't have to have contact with those clients unless there's an issue and they contact you. But if you're in a service-oriented and I'm picturing like a consulting company, or you've got some type of dashboard and people are using your software to do something. Even if there are no problems, you're still accountable to those people. You've got to ensure that you've paid your Amazon Web Service bill on time, so it's up and running. You've got to ensure it's meeting their needs. So I had another company besides Leading Like a Buffalo in which we developed customized compensation systems. And our clients loved the easy-to-use platform. Once they understood in a 30-minute tutorial how to use it, they were off and running, right? We never heard from them again. However, we checked in with them quarterly just to say, hey, how's it going? Have any problems? Is it still meeting your needs? And if we didn't do that, we never would have heard from them. But we did that because we wanted to show them that we were accountable to the process. It wasn't, hey, here's your annual bill, pay it, and we'll talk to you next year at this time. So being accountable outward starts with being accountable inward. So I'm accountable to the people I owe money to, and I'm accountable to the people who owe me money. There's where I see a business owner or people in business. You've got people you pay money to, people you get money to, and you're accountable to both ends, and you've got to show them that you're accountable and responsible, so then you can reciprocate that expectation. Yeah. Thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is.
And it's cool because it is a lot. And the nice thing about it is, the reason you want to maintain accountability with your clients / customers or customers and the customers within customers and any multi-tiered business organization is later, after you've set that standard and they begin to trust you, people start getting inspired by that. And you get that trust back. So in the long run, not only does it help you in the short run, because you don't pay your bill for AWS, they just shut it off, right? And then you have a quick fix, you pay the bill, so it shouldn't have happened. But if you continually do that, then you're building this long-term relationship between not only your customer, but not only your client, but the customers between the client and you. And one example I have is, I think I was the director of the volunteer clearinghouse at the University of Colorado. And I became director. And after I became director, I found out they were cutting the program within like 5 months and 6 months. And I said, no, they're not. And so everything I did was just like, okay, tell me you're going to cut me. That makes me fight, first of all, because it's not fair. And so they used to have, and I got in, I go, what do they do now? And they go, well, they used to have a volunteer fair where they have organizations come in and they present to the students, and then the students sign up and they get volunteers that way. He goes, but they haven't done that for a few years because it's been a flop, like that. So here I am, new organization. I'm calling up the volunteer organizations that we're connected with. I'm like, yeah, are you interested in doing this? They're like, not really. We've had some issues in the past. It's very disorganized. I go, oh, you don't have to worry about it. I'm in charge now. And they have no idea who I am. I go, they've gotten rid of the prior people. I'm in charge now. I will guarantee you. So I start building that trust with just telling them this is who I am. And so we do this volunteer fair, and it was fall. No, it was spring. Okay. No, actually, sorry, it was fall. It was wintertime. And they go in, and it was just a few people last year. And I go, come on, you can do this. And we start doing it, and it was nice. So I decided to hold it outside. Because, Colorado, even in fall, it can be 75 degrees. And I'm playing it because we're having a really warm summer. It hasn't become winter yet, and we're really having this warm spell. So we have it outside. Needless to say, I get tents. I get everything. Well, how much do we have to pay for? I go, nothing. It's free. You come and set up. If you have an opportunity for students, it's free for you. And then I start calling businesses. I go, do you want to come in and pay? And they start paying. Well, no, we don't want to do that. We'll see how it goes this year. I'm like, okay. So I did this whole thing on my minimal budget for free. Set up the tents, which I had to rent from a contractor, right, for the university. Anyway, long story short, it becomes a real, not mediocre, above mediocre, but way better than last year. So when I did it again in the summertime, right before summertime, they were like, yes, we'll come. And it was the largest volunteer fair they've had in 10 years. And we took up the entire courtyard for the students there outside and had overflow. But it wasn't because it was me. I'd like to think it was, but it was because I instilled accountability in everything. I told the people who set it up, don't worry, you'll get this. I told these people, don't worry, we'll have students come. We'll get students to come. And there's all this stuff on the back end that I did because I had my clients who are there's nothing more multi-tiered than the education world, now that I think of it. I had the people that hired me. I had the students, which are your major clients in a university. I have the clients, the organizations, which are the clients who need the students to help their organizations thrive. And then I had all the contractors, independent contractors for the tents and everything. So I had all these different levels of accountability. And it turned out the next time I did it, there were no questions. And I was even able to charge them a small amount to come. And it was still the largest fair they had. And so just by being accountable and instilling accountability in all aspects, I was nervous as all get out the first time because it was nothing in the morning when I showed up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how are they going to set this up by 10 a.m.? Because that's when it started. And it just came together. And it's that accountability in a multi-tiered environment with your clients and your customers that instills that them wanting to do something for you. And then your initial clients and customers are the ones that benefit from it. So it's a great, and what you're saying is paying the bills. And if people see the organization is going right, they're going to want to be a part of it.
You set up people to understand, excuse me, understand you're trustworthy and reliable. They in turn don't want to let you down. Oh, look at how smooth
Yeah.
last year went. We've got to be up and running to 10, and we've got to be there because Ty, has this expectation and he's going to make it happen. So we've got to not let him down. We've got to make this happen. So I love that. And then it's you set the culture's base in accountability, and then it just permeates everything you do. So I want to take a minute
Yeah.
to turn the tables now and say, all right, how do we hold those with whom we engage, namely our customers and clients, how do we hold them accountable? Actually, also our vendors, in the scenario that you get vendors giving you stuff and you pay them, they're not delivering on time, or they're constantly billing you 3 months after the fact, and it's so far in your rearview mirror that you don't even remember why you're getting the bill. Whatever the case may be, you've got to hold the vendors accountable to ensure that you've got a seamless transition and business flow going on your end. You don't want to have business related headaches because a vendor is causing you grief, whether they're not billing you accordingly, errors in bills, too late, whatever. Same thing goes through with your clients or customers. And we've all been there. If you've been in some type of service oriented organization or company, the pain some people can bring to the table. And they demand your time. They demand, they have outlandish requests, and they want. And at some time, you may have to say, you know what, this customer or this client really isn't worth it. So let's assume you have 100 clients and you rate them on a scale of 1 to 5, and 1 being your best and 5 being the worst, based on the interaction and what they bring to your company. And if you've got some 5s out there, odds are out of that 100 companies, you've got a handful of 5s that are taking up over 50% of your time. If that's the case, jettison those 5s, get rid of them, and start getting some more 1s, 2s, and 3s that aren't sucking your time, your energy, your passion for what you're doing. And when you have that philosophy, make sure, and I do this when I coach people, like, hey, you want to engage with me as your leadership coach. It's got to work both ways. You've got to be comfortable with me. I've got to be comfortable with you. If you're not coachable, and I glean that from our onboarding conversations and our get to know you conversations, then this is pointless for me to engage with you and take your money if you don't want to be coached, or if philosophically you've got an approach to leadership that I don't agree with, which I agree with a lot of leadership, but when it's anti the people you are leading, that's when I draw the line, because there's a lot of autocratic approaches out there. Autocratic approach in leadership is necessary at times, but it's not the primary thing. But if you think you're primary and that's the way you're going to win and get ahead, you're not the person for me. And if we have a relationship and I'm coaching you and that's the route you're going down, I say, all right, I've done what I can here. It's time for you to, take off the training wheels. You're on your own. Good luck, or go find another coach who wants to subscribe to what you're doing. So it's a two-way street. I'm holding my customers accountable at the same time I'm accountable to their needs, demands, desires, etc. Ty, do you have any experience with anything like that, like holding customers accountable or clients accountable?
Yeah, there was one time when I've done a lot. I forget the little jobs I have. One time I was the election commissioner for the Metropolitan State College, the Arary campus in Colorado, for their student governments. And they take their student governments very seriously. They had election booths and everything like that. And we had to do primary, and we had a regular election just for the sakes of having students getting used to register to vote, because this is a big deal. This is a while back. Anyway, the first time around, I hired somebody to do the election booths, and they were automated election booths. So you could go in and press a button and it was computerized. This is a ways back before online stuff was just the easy way to do it. And then they had to pull out the machine and tally it. So it was a big deal. The first company that did it was horrible. I had to hold them accountable. Because they were affecting the clients, which were the students. Actually, the clients were the people running for office, and then the students were like the one of the multi-tiers. And they weren't doing their job. They weren't keeping people away. They weren't letting people just be in the booth by themselves. They were taking their time. It took 3 weeks to get a result for one of them. I'm like, why is it taking 3 weeks? And there's nothing I could do. The next time around, we had the next sequential. So a few weeks later, we had another election, right? And then they would go, okay, this is what we're doing. I go, no, we're not using these guys. And we use somebody else. And I gave them the expectations. And I said, this is the way it has to be. And this was built the trust with the administration. They're like, okay, because we're paying twice as much now than we did before. And the administration goes, well, that's not in our budget. I go, well, look, do you want it done right? Or do you want it done where we know that they're not going to do their job? And they're like, we want it done right. I go, well, let's just pay it and see how it works out. And I was almost to the point, look, I'll pay for it if it doesn't work out, which I didn't have the money, but they knew I was joking, but they go, if you're going to be that way about it, we'll trust you. And that's the whole idea, is they get to trust you. And when people start trusting back and forth, in fact, through all of this accountability month, Dan, our main focus has been different topics, but it's all boiled back down to that initiating trust at the beginning. And when you initiate that trust, everything else falls into place. And you have to be transparent. Trust also and transparency go hand in hand. Because if I didn't own up to the mistake that, yes, I knew, I had heard they weren't good, but I did it anyway because I was new, and this is what the people before me did. If I would have just said, no, I heard they weren't good, let's find somebody else, it probably wouldn't have happened. But it happened, and I had to own up to him. People, man, okay, he owned up for it. Let's support him on this, see how he does this time. And so it worked out. But that whole trust is so important when it comes to being accountable. And it comes, like you said, from inside. Because if you have low standards of what accountability is, then you're going to bring in low standards of events, whatever you need to do. Low standards of service, everything falls in with that. If your standards are high, you're going to bring in a higher standard, a higher quality of customers, and everything works better because they know, look, your standards are high. We can't screw around it this time around. So, yeah, I've had those experiences, and I agree with you 100% that you have to instill that bit of trust. You have to have that two-way street, and you have to let people know when they're letting you down.
I'm going to tear apart or dig deeper, not tear apart, dig deeper into an idea Ty said. It made me think of, as a leader, you don't have to know and do everything. Let's hope everybody who's watching and listening to this understands that you don't have to know and do everything. But you should at least know where to turn to get to help and get an answer or to get an answer. So keeping that in mind, thinking of the vendor piece. Let's say Ty and I worked in the organization and I saw it fall apart and Ty had issues the previous year, and then he comes back, but he's like, hey, Ty, I got a guy. Here's another vendor you may want to consider. So I've done that before, and newsflash to those of you who haven't been in this position, leaders don't try to fix things, especially logistically, that aren't broken. So if that vendor that Ty just mentioned was perfect, there was no impetus for him to ever change. So let's say I had somebody who I thought was better. I could have, hey, Ty, what you're doing is great. If you ever get to a point where you're not satisfied with that vendor, here's a point of contact for a different vendor you may want to explore. So it's not knowing everything as a leader, but it's knowing where to get the resources. It's knowing how to leverage those resources. And if I'm Ty's boss, and hey, Ty, I've got this resource, just so you know, if things go south in what you're doing, we've got another avenue if you want to explore it. So it's great idea to not fix things that aren't broken. And that's because you're just taking, like, why fix it if it's not broken, right? But if it is broken, address it. And that's what Ty's talking about. Address it. He found another vendor. Regrettably, it was twice the cost. You can say, hey, boss says, hey, we don't have the money for this. Well, do you want legal and fair elections? at twice the cost, or you want something that we really can't validate at half the price that we can afford. So we may as well not even do it if you can't trust the results. So have those resources as a leader so that when you do encounter something that is broken, you've got options, and don't be afraid to pull the trigger in regard to jettisoning that vendor or that company or that relationship or that specific client with whom you have a contract. Put them on notice. Hey, when your contract's up in 6 months, we're not going to renew it. We're not happy with X, Y, and Z. We're going to seek alternatives. So be upfront, be open, be honest. Ty said transparency. I immediately thought of one of my tenets: be beyond reproach and own it. If Ty was showed that he could be trusted, led with accountability, and owned it when he realized the vendor he had chosen wasn't meeting the expectation. Went out and said, hey, boss, it's more expensive to do this, but we need to because we couldn't trust the other results. It's as simple as that. So be beyond reproach and own it. Hold yourself accountable. Hold those around you accountable. And you are on your way to being a successful leader and with a foundation of trust and accountability.
Man, that's so true, because, I'm reliving the experience because I felt like I let a lot of people down. And one of the things about being a leader, and I know this isn't our topic, but when you're a leader and you go in to do a job and you hear that there was issues with something, but you don't have firsthand experience on it, it's better to dig into that and find out what these issues were, because I kind of discounted it because I had the same amount of people. Oh no, that was just a one-time, one-off thing, and then I need to worry about it. But I did need to worry about it. And had I been more cognizant of the people who were saying there was an issue, the whole thing would have happened. But as a new leader going into a position, sometimes you just okay, you're overwhelmed with the entire scenario that you're doing. So what do? I stayed with the status quo and I got bit from it, but I recovered. And I recovered by being honest and owning up to my mistake. And people trusted me after that. So
right on.
That's all I got to say. Accountability Month is wrapping up.
Perfect. Well, good summation. Well done. All right. So as Ty said, we just concluded the month of February in our accountability month. I hope you took something away, but from our perspective, accountability starts within and you work outward from there, whether you're talking about your people, your organization, your vendors, your clients, your customers. Accountability starts with you to all those different people. All right. So again, if you'd like to work with me and or Ty, feel free to reach out to us, ty@tradesecrets.com or dan@leadingbuffalo.com. You can watch our content over on our YouTube channel, The Enhanced Leadership Project. And as always, you can DM us directly on LinkedIn, and we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, we are talking leadership, and you can do it. Good luck.